About that, the referendum is upon us. Tell us how the preparations have gone and how the EC anticipates that it will all unfold on the day or days.
I think it's going very well. Of course, we came in August and we had to quickly set in place the motion for the referendum. But thankfully, we've been able to come through with the registration. We've had, a fairly successful registration and process. We've also had an interesting and a successful exhibition process. Just 2 weeks ago, we opened up, the process that allowed, voters to transfer their votes, indigents and residents or citizens of, those affected areas to transfer their votes to the affected areas to enable them vote. So that has also gone on well. And as we speak, we are in the process of training, the officers who have been selected and appointed to oversee the various polling stations and the various polling centers. So training is underway and is going smoothly. We are also starting our publicity in earnest, starting on Sunday. We have our vehicles, which will be patrolling the streets with various jingles, educating people and calling out to citizens to come and vote, and educating them on the modalities for the referendum, looking at the colors for the referendum and so on. And of course, we'll have jingles on radio in the carved out areas as well.
The last time there was a referendum in Ghana, I was a child. This was during military rule, and I remember there were songs composed and played on TV and so forth. Is the EC planning a similar sort of media campaign to educate people?
Yes, it's a media campaign, of course, not as elaborate with songs and catchy tunes and so on, but really encouraging citizens in those areas to go make their choice, whether they are for it or not. We're encouraging, voters to turn out in their numbers, to vote and to exercise their rights and their franchise.
Will you be targeting the media activity around just the affected areas, or is there some sort of nationwide campaign?
Well, it's mainly in the affected areas, but of course we've selected a few media houses that have nationwide coverage. But the focus will be the affected areas. A lot of radio stations have been identified, and starting on Sunday, as I mentioned, the jingles will start to play. But we're also working with some TV and radio stations which have a wide area, wide coverage, and a nationwide coverage as well. So even whether or not you're in the affected areas, you are aware and informed about what is going on.
Tell us a bit about the process itself on the day. We've seen some documents come out and some samples of the ballot and some colors and so forth. Can talk us briefly through how it's supposed to pan out on the day.
Well, it starts from, the voting starts from 7 and ends at 5 normally. And of course, we have the ballot with the colors. I think the selected colors are yellow for yes, and a dark brown for no. And so citizens would have to thumbprint whether they are in favor of it. And if they are in favor, of course, they will thumbprint yellow. If they are not in favor, they will thumbprint brown, the dark brown. And then, of course, they will place their ballot in the boxes. And at the end of the day, those will be counted. And then the returning officers in the affected areas, in the carved out areas, would announce the results.
We have a historic problem with spoilt ballots. I know that in describing this ballot, it sounds very simple, and there wouldn't be an expectation of things going wrong, but we do have that history. What's the EC's strategy for perhaps minimizing that?
Well, voter education, and voter education. I think that's ongoing currently. It's been going out for a long time now. At least for the last 2 months, a lot of voter education. What we've done differently is to nominate a number of our officers to go out into the field and serve as coordinators. And they will be working with the regional directors and the district electoral officers and intensifying the education. And over the last few weeks, they've been out in the field, in the market squares, in the churches, and the mosques, in public spaces, educating people on how to vote. And we have, of course, the flyers and the education materials that they use. So we are expecting that, we would have quite a success rate and, of, credible or acceptable ballots, and would minimize the rejected and spoiled ballots because of the efforts that we've put in and because of the intensive education that we're doing currently.